in achievement SDGs as the first event of the business agenda of the 27th Energy and Environmental Forum of Belarus. The Ministry of Energy of Belarus, in partnership with Rosatom, organized an international conference on nuclear power and achievement of SDGs. And I'd like to introduce our high-level guests of this conference, the Deputy Minister of Energy, Mr. Mikhadyuk, the Deputy Chair of the State Committee for Science of Belarus, Tatiana Stolярova, Director of the Unit for the Implementation of Policies of Rosatom, Andrei Lebedev, the Deputy Chairperson of Astrovets Executive Committee, Mr. Puchko, Director of the Country Office of Rosatom, Stanislav Levitsky, and our foreign partners present online, that is the advisor of the Chief Executive Officer, Attila Hulyets, and the Chief Executive Officer of Kazakhstan, Marat Bulkairov, and the Director of the Research Center, NANO, from Uzbekistan, Mr. Burkashev. And today here we have the representatives of key ministries and agencies supervising the development of nuclear energy, and I'm sure that in the course there will be some questions. Please take note of them and refer them to the organizers, and if there is some time left, our speakers will be very pleased to answer all your questions. But now I will ask you, if you still have your smartphones on, please switch them off, because the topics are quite profound, serious, relevant, and burning, and therefore, to avoid any distraction, please turn off your telephones. And now I give the floor to the Deputy Minister of Energy of the Republic of Belarus, Mikhail Mikhadyuk. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, guests, friends. On behalf of the Ministry of Energy of the Republic of Belarus, I'd like to welcome you to our exhibition and conference, international conference on the role of the nuclear energy in achievement of Sustainable Development Goals set out by the United Nations organizations. And this event is hosted by the Energy Forum, one of the milestone exhibition conferences in Belarus. The forum opens its doors not only to Belarusian organizations, professionals, as well as to our foreign friends, and this is the 27th time. And Sustainable Development Goals, they are a set of 17 interlinked goals developed in 2015 by the General Assembly of the UN as a blueprint for the achievement of better and more sustainable future for all. They reflect the intention of the humanity to develop all the economic spheres, including economy, human rights, and technological development of all the sectors. But all these goals are united with one intention to improve the quality and comfort of human living. Our country pays a lot of attention to achievement of Sustainable Development Goals and has progressed quite a lot at the national level. And a very important role is given to the use of innovative approaches to ensure and secure everyone with the equitable, high quality and environmentally friendly access to basic resource, that is the power. And this is contributed a lot by the nuclear power and cross-cutting technologies. The waste management and the use of wastes, digitalization and innovative technologies and solutions. We came together to showcase how the global nuclear power accelerates the achievement of the UN SDGs and how in a different way we can progress in the increase of the well-being of nations and regions, and including our region in Ostrovets. Implementation of the project of Belarusian nuclear power with our friends from Russia, we understand a lot how important it is, and I'm sure that the result of today's event will be better understanding of the need to achieve SDGs for the implementation of the projects in the area of green nuclear power, as well as the readiness to support all other initiatives both in the Republic of Belarus and our partner countries. I wish you all a very productive work, fruitful work, and good impressions of staying in our country as well. Thank you. Thanks. Mikhail, the Republic of Belarus progressed a lot in achievement of SDGs, UN SDGs at the national level. 100% the population has access to the power, and its consumption is secured by the power stations of Belarus. Meanwhile, the nuclear power is an important driver of the economy, and over the decade, about 50 nuclear units were installed and introduced, and our country showcase the contribution of the nuclear power. And we will learn about this in detail from our friends in Rosatom. And today we have the CEO of Rosatom representing the keynote projects and initiatives that showcase the nuclear power contribution as the flagship global economy and its contribution to the achievement of SDGs. And Andrei Lebedev is responsible for a very important area of work of Rosatom. And actually, we will not only hear from him about the role of nuclear power, but also the impact of green technologies on the development and the technological agenda. Andrei, the floor is yours. Good afternoon, dear friends, dear colleagues, and I'd like to welcome all of you to the 27th Energy and Environment Forum and thank our Belarusian friends and peers for the organization of this very important and highly demanded at a high quality level event. And today we are talking about nuclear energy. And of course, nuclear energy as a sector, standalone sector, and both in terms of innovations, technologies, and production in general, pursues new trends for the society development, and it requires systematic and comprehensive approach. And no one will dispute that over the last 2 decades, there was the nuclear renaissance, and the nuclear sector became the core of the development of new economic sectors at a global, worldwide level. And at the same time, those sustainable development goals set out by the UN are quite clear and understandable and very well cut targets to be achieved in order to achieve new future. Shortly, I will remind you what Rosatom specializes in. We are proud to call us company number 1 in the global sector in terms of the projects implemented and our leadership and coverage. And Rosatom today is a leader in the global nuclear sector and is a flagship in the development of this sector in Russia. And our business card is nuclear energy. And how do we achieve these results? The answer is quite clear. In the context of fast-changing world, there is the radical re-evaluation of values, and Rosatom, assesses its activities, operations, develops its strategies, and not only in line with business goals and targets, but also in the context of the need to achieve the development goals, sustainable development goals, because we assess our activities from the perspective of the impacts, an assessment of the impacts on the environment, and we acknowledge the significance and importance of our business initiatives and their implementation, and we as the state corporation and the efficiency of business processes. And in this slide you can see that the SDG Sustainable Development Agenda correlates and is reflected in our work. And in general, these trends have been reflected in our operations and our product range. And today, Rosatom develops different segments of economy that directly may not be linked to the nuclear energy, but actually the foundation laid down by us enables us to implement new cutting-edge projects, including in wind energy, hydrogen energy, development of electric vehicles, and digital technologies, environment-friendly technologies, and their development and their implementation, their adoption in the context of environment protection in line with the goals set by the governments, and where we can cooperate with the businesses, and all this is done to improve the standard of life of the people for their benefit. And regarding the green agenda, I could say that in the last year, and at present we are constructing 27 units, but our portfolio includes 33 units globally. And of course, the energy solutions which are being implemented are more than simply energy supply, because the design of the construction of each plant is a large infrastructure project which contributes a lot to the development of the region where the plants are constructed, but at the same time provides very good effects for the entire country, including the implementation of the climate agenda of the country, that is the environmental and social responsibility initiatives, and all these initiatives aim at the support of educational, healthcare institutions in the regions, development of different logistics, road infrastructure, and result in a number of effects or elements which at large develop the economic and social development of the territories and areas. And a good example which has been mentioned today, and we can see it, that is a successful implementation of very ambitious and high technological and most efficient project in nuclear energy, that is the Belarusian nuclear power plant, the first nuclear power plant in Belarus, which is being constructed nearby Ostrovets settlement, composed of 2 units, and that is a synergy of the experience of nuclear power professionals, showcasing those solutions in safety security. And we know that on the 12th of May this year, the second unit was included into the energy system of Belarus, and today the plant constructed already showed the economic effects for the entire country. If you have a look at the effect of this project implementation, the GDP growth is more than 500 million US dollars. 48% of the country, that is 4.5 million of the population, are supplied with the power energy thanks to the nuclear power plant, and the increase in the low carbon energy resources actually enable us to save quite a lot of billion tons of CO2 equivalent per year, and as well as it's important to say that the construction of the nuclear power plant, during its construction, the Belarusian partners were involved, about 48 workers involved at the construction stage were from Belarus, and 1,200 persons were actually trained through the support of Rosatom. And local contractors were involved as well, and that is 110 companies from Belarus. Through the implementation of this project, coming back to SDGs, Ostrovets actually from a rural settlement turned out into a prosperous, dynamically developing and very comfortable settlement with multi-apartment buildings, with well-developed sport, healthcare and recreational infrastructure. And I know that we will learn further details about this, therefore my colleagues will dwell on this, but this is a very bright example of the specific contribution to the achievement of SDGs, to the development of social infrastructure and all the improvements in Ostrovets district. But dear colleagues, since this forum is not only energy-based but environment-based, it should be noted that this project implementation has no impact on the significant natural ecosystems that are located in the proximity of 30 kilometers away from the power plant. And as I said, in view of the theme of today's forum mentioned by our moderator, I'd like to note very briefly, but in view of the potential, the foundations, technological foundations, and scientific and production foundations Rosatom enjoys today, we do develop other segments: green energy, wind energy, digital solutions, which also enable us to be more efficient and more energy saving. And these are different environment-related projects. And after the invitation of our friends and colleagues at the Environmental Forum here in Minsk, we also discussed in more detail all those projects as the inherited, accumulated heritage. In the Soviet times, it was the heritage of some environmental harms, and Rosatom actually works to mitigate these impacts and different wastes, waste management, the accumulation of wastes of class 1 and 2, and these are large-scale landfills of domestic wastes located in the proximity of our cities, and the wastes of former chemical enterprises and productions that were either dismantled or they were accumulated as a result of the production of chemical industry, different hazardous wastes. We work here and we also get, and actually we find new reference solutions which enable us to a large extent to be energy saving and to save national budgets to implement these projects and to be able to actually dismantle these projects and turn them to be very safe and secure. But in addition to this heritage, a lot of work is done to mitigate, to manage newly accumulated wastes, and we use digital solutions here. And when all the market actors, including educational institutions and other companies that transport and waste management operators that manage these wastes, they utilize them and recycle them, when we are playing together, when we are in unity and all these projects become transparent, visible, and we understand how each ton of this hazardous substance becomes the substance to be recycled.
In the framework of closed cycle approaches, we recycle that and receive products that are used in the industry in the future. And of course, we are looking forward to do so in the future. And in this regard, we build up with our Belarusian business counterparts a very good constructive dialogue, and we see this very careful and consistent attitude on the part of our Belarusian friends and partners. Therefore, today we have planned this activity, and a lot of work has been carried out at the state level, signing of the memorandum on the mutual cooperation, interaction, and understanding, because we believe that a lot of questions that in the territory of Russia and the CIS countries, as well as I mentioned, during the Soviet era, were formed, and this required this consolidated approach. Therefore, the confidence in this work and the involvement of the Academy of Sciences allows us to resolve those issues. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Igor Vladimirovich. Also, we would like to mention that Belarus committed itself in order to facilitate the achievement of SDGs at the national level up till 2030. Based on the Paris Agreement, Belarus pledges exactly by 2030 to reduce the emissions of green gases by 35% from the level of 1990 with the forecasted economic growth, and to provide affordable energy by 2025. Belarus by 60% will reduce the level of gases in the production of heat and energy using the NPP operation. This will allow to reduce the emissions of carbon gases by 7 million tons annually. But the achievement of SDGs should be also in line with national and state interests and provision of their own security in the conditions of vulnerable world and changes in all aspects. But those issues are still topical. And about the impact of the of this work on the provision of energy safety, everyone knows Deputy Minister of Energy of Belarus, Mr. Mikhail Mikhadyuk. Please, the floor is yours for another statement. Dear colleagues, friends, participants of the international conference, already today we can sum up some results of what recently was just conceived. Now it has become a reality of our life. And the subject of my presentation is the role of Belarusian NPP in provision of the energy safety of the Republic of Belarus. I would like to go back a little bit today. Maybe not everyone knows the background of this issue. In the Soviet era, around our country, there were 3 NPPs: Smolensk, Chernobyl, and Ignalina. And the Belarusian energy system, it was closely linked with those NPPs, and we imported roughly 4 billion kilowatt. That was the same country, single country, and same tariffs. But in early 1980s, under Minsk, construction of NPP began with the capacity 1,000 megawatts, and the Chernobyl disaster unfortunately stopped the implementation of the project in question. At the same time, the topicality of construction of NPP in Belarus was still in place, and specialists and scientists carried on the operations in this area. In August 2005, the President of the Republic of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, adopted the concept of the national concept aimed at increasing the energy safety of Belarus, which included the main factors that were needed for the energy security, the main ones being since we had low provision of the own fuel energy resources and high energy capacity of the economy and high level of the natural gas and the fuel and energy balance of the countries, 75% in the generally, and in Belarusian energy system over 95%, and high level of depletion of the main production funds in the energy system. As regards all those factors, the concept identified specific areas of activities. One of the areas was the task to justify the need for the construction of the NPP in the Republic of Belarus. Specialists of the sector, jointly with the National Academy of Sciences and other public authorities, developed a technical and economic substantiation of the construction of NPP, and in 2077 this concept was justified and included in the nuclear fuel concept. And in line with that, in 2005, several state programs were developed aimed at energy saving and involvement of local fuels in the energy balance and renewal of the main funds of the Belarusian energy system. You know that during this time frame, today in the communal energy, in small towns, they all switched over to local fuels, and a number of hydro stations and wind parks were built. So for local energy, we have selected everything that was economically feasible. On the 15th of January 2008, based on the works fulfilled by the Ministry of Energy of Belarus and the National Academy of Sciences and other ministries and the Security Council of Belarus, they have made a strategic decision on the construction of nuclear power plant consisting of 2 units with a capacity of more than 2,000 megawatt. A lot of work has been carried out to select the construction site for NPP, and the State Commission, out of 76 possible locations, after a lot of tests, the Ostrovets site has been identified as the construction site. And when we first came over there to Ostrovets, that's how the construction site looked like, or future construction site. And when the head of the executive committee, he said, it's a very good soil, please don't spoil it. And we had to convince this person, and probably the representative of this area will tell you how we had to convince him to build the nuclear power plant on this spot. The head of the state made a decision on the construction of the Belarusian NPP, and the main priority was identified provision of safety of this facility. And today we can identify 3 main pillars for provision security of the NPP, namely selection of the best modern technologies that were available in the market, quality of the project implementation, and no less significant, training personnel for safe and a reliable operation of the NPP. And based on the decision of the head of the state, specialists and scientists of the country carried out negotiations with all companies worldwide that had proposed at that time their projects for the market. Eventually, we have our identified Russian project with PWR of the 3rd generation of safety, and which is still the highest in demand globally. And today, from the perspective of the undertaken measures, we can state that we didn't make a mistake. And in line with global approaches, we have created a regulator, Gosatomnadzor, and it is under the Ministry of Energy, Department for Nuclear and Radiation Safety. Additionally, in line with the decree of the head of the state, scientific support to this project was provided in line with Russian entities, scientific organizations. On the Belarusian part, that was an institute of energy research in Sosne, and also procedure for supervision over construction of the project with relevant supervisory bodies of Belarus. And in order to train personnel in 2008, a state program for training personnel was adopted for nuclear energy, which is still operational, and we also trained our personnel in the framework of the general contract for the construction of NPP, and also from the very beginning, very good our cooperation with IAEA was established and other international agencies. And of course, Rosatom Corporation, its entities, and its cooperation with supervisory bodies here. And in order to implement all that, a whole series of agreements and contracts were signed, and you see them on this slide. And I've always been saying that construction of NPP is just top of the iceberg, and underwater there's a lot of work that is not visible. Yet our work will allow us to raise the level of energy security at the expense of diversification of fuel resources. And I told you that it used to be gas primarily. So the task is to reduce the consumption of natural gas by up to 4.5 billion cubic meters, and also to decrease the burden on the currency burden in Belarus, and to reduce the emissions of green gases by about 7 million tons. And one more important thing, the share of energy from NPP will increase up to 40% in the national consumption, which is much higher compared to developed countries globally. And as of today, the use of peaceful atom gives a good effect. From the inclusion of the first unit into the country's energy system, and from the use of the second unit, its involvement in the energy system of the country, more than 20.7 billion kilowatt hours of energy was generated. This allowed us to reduce the emissions of green gases. Additionally, the launch of the Belarusian NPP will allow to decommission a number of obsolete and ineffective units at NPPs, and to significantly increase the export potential of the Belarusian energy system. With the commissionment of the NPP for the national economy, new capabilities were established, like development of electrical transport, expansion of the use of electricity for heating and hot water supply for for households, attraction of new technologies, creation of new good productions, and creation of innovational areas in science and education. And it has already been mentioned that in the framework of the long-term prospective future, we're currently elaborating the issue of construction one more NPP in Belarus and one more unit. This task has been put forward to us, and we're working over it. As regards SDGs of the UN for Belarus, in 2023, Belarus took 34th place amongst 166 countries in the SDGs rating. And Belarus scored 77.5 points out of 100 points. This score reflects progress of the country in the implementation of the SDGs for the period up to 2030, and that what relates to our branch to provide universal access to cheap and reliable and modern energy supply sources. And I would like to mention, it has already been mentioned today, electrification of this country has been completed long time ago, like by the end of 1960s, early 1970s. But today, with the commissioning of the Belarusian NPP, we went further, and the state program was adopted in order to increase the overall plan with the count of the commissioning of the Belarusian NPP, which implies increase in the energy consumption, both in new sectors, on new areas of the country's economy, and also to increase what has been identified by the SDGs in order to increase the comfortable conditions for the population. And for this 5-year plan, the state governments identified 2 million square meters of housing. And over these 5 years, we are supposed to build new houses with the use of new power supply and energy supply. Also, houses with furnaces to transform them for hot water supply and energy supply, more than 100 houses like that. And of course, first of all, for the rural population, electrification of individual housing for hot water supply and energy supply. Today, more than 100,000 claims or requests like that were received by us, and we are trying to do our utmost to satisfy those requests, and we have already satisfied more than 80% of those. And it's clear that a lot of work has been underway to achieve this, so that we could provide those comfortable conditions to bring about this comfort to the residents of those houses. And speaking about those efforts, today this area has been prioritized by us in the country. As NPP, I have already mentioned that more than 20 billion kilowatt hours have been generated, and the first unit has worked successfully, and today it has come to the second stage of maintenance in accordance with the maintenance plan, and now it is in the planned maintenance with partial replacement of 25% of the spent fuel. As regards the second unit, this Saturday we have completed technological part of the modular operation, and the operation of the last 15 days have been at the final stage, which is testing our use of equipment at the nominal capacity. Currently, acceptance commission works over there, and a state commission has been set up, and a lot of work has to be carried away, and a lot of documentation it has to be reconsidered in accordance with the plan for the near future. Hopefully it will be commissioned pretty soon. And lastly, what I wanted to mention is that cooperation with state corporation Rosatom, it's not the end of it with signing the acceptance certificate. It comes to the new stage, to the new level, and here one can identify such areas as maintenance and operation of the NPP. It will be until the stage of decommissioning, and it will be supported, and we will jointly do this work with Rosatom Corporation. This is one area. Secondly, delivery of fresh nuclear fuel, also treatment with spent fuel and radioactive waste. I would like to mention that here we have all the documents with the state corporation for cooperation and the work of the NPP. All documents have been signed for its decommissioning and for possible extension of operation, and many other issues relating to the operation. As regards other areas of activities, today with the Rosatom Corporation, with the involvement of many public authorities in Belarus, prospective areas of cooperation have been studied in the use of nuclear technologies, non-atom technologies in other areas. I would like to say that just yesterday the government had a working meeting headed by the Prime Minister, Mr. Golovchenko, with the Director General of Rosatom Corporation, Mr. Likhachev, at which we scrutinized all prospective areas of cooperation in terms of interaction, not in nuclear area, but in other areas like medicine, agriculture, science, production of energy accumulation systems, and many others. And for the documents that have been prepared as of today, the task was put forward to complete the preparation, and those documents will be signed. The Belarusian NPP is not just a guarantee of the nuclear safety of the country for the coming decades, but also a big step in the technological development of the national economy, which means increase in the quality of level of our citizens. And thank you very much, Mikhail Ivanovich. Thank you very much. If I may, one question as a moderator. Currently, a huge interest is in the green energy and nuclear energy, like an epoch of atom renaissance. However, the construction of Ostrovets and PP, it's a lot of procurement, like tender and so on and so forth. Why exactly Rosatom, in addition to cultural and language points? First of all, I mentioned that in the report, as back then and currently, what we have implemented is in the highest demand. It is in line with the most up-to-date requirements for security. And secondly, of course, a very significant factor is that we jointly with Rosatom Corporation, we have come from the same school. We understand each other perfectly, and it's much easier to resolve technical and prospective and many other working issues that were like hundreds of thousands over the decade when you understand each other and speak the same language. The same language of the school that we originated from. I would like to say that again and to express gratitude to Rosatom Corporation for effective joint work and the plans that we have for the future. We're quite confident that this will take place. And I should say that over this decade in this project, we also took into account the lessons of Fukushima. We did that in the course of our work. Also, the background of operation of similar Russian NPPs, Leningradskaya, Voronezhskaya NPPs, and all lessons that were prompted by life, we took them into account. Thank you very much, Mikhail Ivanovich.
Please give some round of applause. We do have foreign friends online, and they will talk about the role of nuclear power for social and economic sustainability of Uzbekistan and other countries. And the director of the Center for Research Initiative Myanmar will be presented by Bakhtiyor Urgashev. Can you hear us? Yes, I can. The floor is yours. Dear colleagues, but can you see my presentation? Can I start? We will find it out. It should be displayed in my screen. We can see you, at least we can see you. And what about my presentation? Can you see it on the screen? I believe right now it will be fixed. Okay. And what can you say now? Can you see it? Dear colleagues, do we have any challenges? So what is important here is that we can see you and you can actually start. We are ready. We had a very fantastic presentation, but what can I do now, colleagues? I ended again. I started my slideshow. Okay, then thank you, dear colleagues. I'm very thankful to the organizers of the conference for the possibility to share some insights about the role and the impact and effects of the construction of the nuclear power plant in Uzbekistan, the planned one, the expected construction. So its destiny is quite challenging. It is the 5th or even the 6th year for our to explore the possibility of construction. We haven't signed a contract yet, but we're very hopeful that we will do quite soon. And look, the construction of the nuclear power plant is not our desire, is not our wish to be a part of something bigger. The construction of the NPP for Uzbekistan is vital, which is determined by a number of factors, such as the demographic factor. The population of Uzbekistan in 2021, after the collapse in 1991, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, was 20 million, whereas the 1st of January 2023, it is already 36 million people. And there are some estimates which show that over the next 3 decades, they will be very dynamic demographically, and the population of the country by 2030 will exceed 46 million, and we see 50 million people, that is the estimated population by 2050. These are very dynamic growth estimates. The population is growing, but with the growth of the population, there is an increase, a need to increase in the standard of living of the population, and there is an increase in the demand for household appliances and equipment, and increase in the demand for power, which all requires more power energy to be generated and available to the population. Secondly, Uzbekistan, which by 1991 was as an agrarian industrial company when it became independent. Uzbekistan was agrarian industrial country, whereas today it is faced with the possibility of the implementation of the accelerated industrial development strategy. And therefore, there is understanding that without the development of energy, increase in power generation and transition from agro-industrial to industrial innovative approach, all this is impossible. And this is the reason why the electric energy is growing, and in the context of economy and population growth, it demands more power to be generated. And this is our reality. And Uzbekistan is the country which already faces the energy deficit. And according to the estimates we have, at present, the annual demand, real demand by the population, which could be estimated, including individuals, industry, in agriculture, greenhouses, we need over 80 billion kilowatt hours per year, whereas in 2022 we generated a bit more than 74 billion kilowatts. So, therefore, there is some deficit which impedes the development of businesses, SMEs, medium-sized businesses, and in particular in the regions of the country where there are some terminations of the power supplies. And this is a good barrier, a severe barrier to the development of SMEs, in particular in the regions. And by the way, last year in Ardinjan Valley, there was a survey carried out. We surveyed the challenges or the barriers impeding the development of SMEs in the regions, and one of the regions was that one. And we talked to the heads of SMEs. We surveyed the targeted group. They are Medici business, so furniture manufacturing businesses, and there is a boom as we have the forests, and we turned into the country which actively exports furniture to neighboring countries. And they said that over 3 months in wintertime they stopped their production, their plants, furniture making plants. Why? Because in winter there is no power, and there is power shortage, and these gas shortages. So in case of gas, it could be remedied somehow, but in case of electricity, it could not. And the situation, which is quite typical for this region, and it is quite characteristic for other regions of the country, and we suffer from electricity shortage, which impacts a lot the development of the economy and the productions, in particular in our regions. And regarding the relevant energy mix, as I call it, these are the indicators of power generation in the country. They are growing. And in 2016, every year, when our president became the president, after the presidential election, we generated 59 billion kilowatt hours, whereas in 2022, as I said, 74.3 billion kilowatt hours produced a year. So there is an increase of more than 25%. But in any case, as I said, we still have energy shortages, and we have this gap. And we tried our best to show the existing energy mix of energy generation, 55.5 billion kilowatt hours. They are natural gas-based heat plants, and it is more than 80% of the entire power generation mix of the country. 6.5 billion kilowatt hours is produced by hydro plants, and about 0.5 billion kilowatt hours is generated by alternative wind and solar plants. That was the statistics for 2022. And now let's have a look at the prospects of the development of different types of electricity generation, depending on the inputs required for different types of power generation. Uzbekistan has no possibility to construct large hydropower plants because there are no large rivers to be used for these purposes. They could be used, mostly our rivers could be used in the reverse mode for irrigation, but we lack such possibilities like Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan have. We don't have these natural resources and large rivers where large hydropower plants could be constructed. Therefore, we have reached our peak in terms of hydropower to be generated. Uzbekistan has no large deposits of high quality coal, which will enable us to construct coal heat power plants. And like I said, almost 80% of our power plants are driven by gas. But we don't have coal, and therefore we need to burn gas, natural gas. And therefore, coal heat power plants, in future, there won't be a lot of them, and coal-driven power generation is very restricted and limited in terms of its development. And of course, Uzbekistan took a lot of profound steps to develop solar power generation. There are the first wind parks and solar power plants constructed as part of the private partnerships, public partnerships, with the involvement of Arabic investors. But let's be honest, because of low efficient technologies in solar and wind generation, which are still very restricted in terms of the season, time of generation, whether there is wind or no, we have no seas, and there are no constant breezes or winds, and we have deserts, but the wind is not stable there, and there are a number of challenges which actually is a serious impediment to the development of wind and solar energy generation in the country. But as I said, over 80% of power generation is gas-driven plants, but their challenge is that we have very abrupt decrease in the natural gas extracted. Once Uzbekistan was second in 1992 in the former Soviet Union in terms of the natural gas extracted after Russia, but now it's not the case. And in 2018, we extracted about 60 billion cubic meters of natural gas, whereas at present, we gradually, so there is this steady trend for a decrease in the number of extraction of the natural gas in the country. It will be decreasing steadily. And the experts suggest that at least 1 trillion cubic meters of natural gas that the Uzbekistan could extract, but actually that is a span of about 20 years if there are no other extraction sites found out. So we are restricted in terms of all the key power generation vehicles. And the solution for us here is the construction of the nuclear power plant. In April 22, the government of Uzbekistan adopted the concept for the provision of Uzbekistan with electric energy. The concept for the supply of electric energy for the years of 2020-2030, and it includes some estimates which suggest that by 2030 the consumption of electric energy would exceed 120 billion kilowatt hours a year, which is almost twofold more than the electric energy supplied in 2018. And if in the coming years we do not increase the power generation and the capacities, the country will face severe shortages of electricity. And the concept provides for that by the year of 2030, there will be an increase in generation capacities of the country from 12.9 gigawatts to 29.3 gigawatts. And these are our changes to expect in Uzbekistan. Twofold increase, otherwise we will fail to achieve our goals in industrialization and economic modernization of Uzbekistan by 2030. And the challenge of electricity shortage is a key challenge which will impede our development and the main barrier to the economic modernization of the country and in achievement of our post-industrialization goals. What should be noted here? This concept I mentioned above, adopted in 2020, personally for me as an expert, I like it that it is very holistic, comprehensive. It does not prioritize one particular type of electricity generation. It aims at the development of different types of energy generation in view of the resources of the country to have a very well-balanced approach to electricity generation. And this 2020 concept has two main areas. That is the development of solar energy generation and to some extent wind energy generation, and by 2030 the share of wind and solar energy generation will be about 25-27% of the total energy generation. They are quite high figures, but there are some estimates, and at the same time there will be a new source of power and generation commissioned, that is nuclear energy, and the share of the nuclear energy will be about 8%, and heat energy generated based on gas will decrease, and its share in the total energy mix will be 50%. And it will be replaced, the gap will be replaced by solar, wind and nuclear energy. These are the plans of the government by 2030. It is 2023 today, and we see the development of solar and wind power plants. They are being constructed, commissioned, and even next year there will be a large gas-driven heat power plant constructed and commissioned, but we still are under pressure with the construction of the nuclear power plant, and we have a lot of concerns here. But at the same time, in view of the topic of today's discussion, our international conference, for us, for Uzbekistan community, we developed some estimations which have been approved by the government, which suggest that regarding the benefits of the nuclear energy, they include the fact that the construction of the nuclear power plant and how it is different from our other power plants, including solar and wind power. So the lump sum investments are much larger compared to other power plants, whereas operational long-term costs and expenses, in particular those related to the cost of the fuel, are much lower than in case of our types of power generation. And in future, over the decades, the planned operation time of the nuclear power plant is 60 years, and over 60 years we get quite severe, quite profound saving. The construction of the power plant has its multiplying effect, and it is very important for the developing economy of Uzbekistan because the construction of NPP leads to the development of the construction in the cross-cutting sectors. And there is a possibility to upskill this stuff in other sectors and those workers employed at NPP itself. And there are estimations which have been approved and by the Russian experience and other countries where Rosatom constructs its NPPs. There are estimates which showcase that one job place at NPP creates from 7 to 18 vacancies in related sectors. And there will be about 8,000 persons involved in the construction of NPP, and after it is commissioned, 2,500 persons will work there. And Rosatom Corporation 4 years ago opened its subsidiary in Ufa, which this year actually a branch in Ufa at the university in Ufa, and the senior officials of this institution informed us that the first bachelor graduates have been trained and they could participate and be engaged in the construction and continue their training in NPPs such as those in Turkey, Bangladesh. Our guys, even today, without waiting for the NPP to be started, to be constructed in Uzbekistan, they are already recruited and employed in other Rosatom sites. And another important thing for Uzbekistan is that the construction of NPP in the country will have very good effects on construction sector and construction material sector, and it will be a very great push, in particular in the country, in the region where the NPP will be constructed, but it is under depression now, and there are very good possibilities for the development of the service sector. And you know, these are a number of benefits which could be viewed and obvious, although the list is much larger. And you know, these arguments help us a lot in different discussions and dialogues we have internally in the country. And the previous speakers already said that in addition to the positive economic aspect of NPP construction, there are environmental impacts. Uzbekistan ratified Paris Agreement, and it will actually aim to reduce the role of hydrocarbons in power generation. And nuclear power plant does not emit pollutants and hazardous emissions, and therefore nuclear energy is viewed as the green energy globally. And therefore, again, the figures have been noted. In accordance with the estimates of the experts, one NPP unit will contribute to the reduction of about 7 billion tons of CO2 equivalent and 18 tons of NOx tons. So thank you very much. I will wrap it up because you are beyond our time, and on behalf of Uzbekistan, I would like to say that the construction of NPP is a strategic project for our country. It is paramount, important and vital, as it has economic and industrial and even psychological impacts. And I mentioned to cover them all, and I believe I will wrap it up. And at the same time, I fully believe that NPP construction leads not only to power generation, but this is a great site for the accelerated economic modernization and post-industrialization of Uzbekistan, and it will help us to ensure sustainable economic growth in the country, and at the same time it will apply not only to Uzbekistan but to other countries of the Central Asia. Thank you, and sorry for being beyond the schedule.
Thank you very much for your great report and presentation. And in our country, we all know very well, since the Soviet era, the Academy of Sciences and Physics of Uzbekistan and the support that was provided in 2017 by your president, Mr. Mirziyoyev, and generally a nuclear sector in Uzbekistan. Thank you very much. And let's go back to Belarus. Ostrovets NPP, the construction of this NPP gave a powerful impetus for the development of the Belarusian economy, but of extreme importance in the implementation of the NPP project, its impact on the regional economy. And I would like to give the floor to Deputy Chairman of the Ostrovetsky District Regional Committee, Gennady Bychko, who will tell us what impact has NPP project had on economic, social, and scientific and technical development of the region in general. And please observe the timeline, the time that was dedicated for the presentation. I would like to ask the presentation on the screen, and let me start in a trivial way, that life in the city begins when the military leaves it. And I would also like to say that the life has drastically changed because of the decision on the construction of NPP and the implementation of the Republican programs for the development of the city and the region in general. And let me familiarize yourself a little bit with this subject. And I believe that some of you prior to 2008 knew the geography of our country. One could have said about Ostrovets, it's just a small township, or 28,000 of population, with the regional center 8,000 persons, without any big industry or agriculture in the north of Grodno region, and Vilnius is closer even than the capital of our republic and the regional center, and that's about it. And now I can say that not just in Belarus, but beyond Belarus, people know about Ostrovets. And I can say that it's the youngest city in our country. The status of the city was received in 2012, and although it's a rather ancient town, this year we celebrated its 555th jubilee. The town was quite small, primarily private housing, probably it's not that interesting for the audience, how many regions and what are the central ones and so on. But I would like to highlight the fact that for the development of the construction of the region, everything was taken into account, both residential area and the entire infrastructure in this residential area. I would like to dwell on a little bit about the strength of population. You see it's roughly 8,000. Currently we have 14.5 thousand of population, and the forecast is up to 20,000 up to 2013. That's not much. Of course, it's not cannot be compared with Minsk, Moscow, New York, and so on. But there's also a big advantage and sort of a soul of our town. I would like to say about the first region, the first micro region. It has gymnasium, informational center for the NPP and kindergarten, and that was the development. And the second micro district, a school was built, like another educational institution, very good project like art center for children and a recreation center. And in the central part of Ostrovets, which is currently developed, the entire infrastructure appeared. First of all, trade facilities, and a couple of months ago, a new educational institution was also built, and I would like to highlight that, because as regards the number of children in the secondary school, we see a very big increase in the number of young people, and that gave us an impetus to build a new educational facility. Totally for the period of development starting from 2012, you see the numbers for up to 2022. I didn't include 2023 on purpose. There's active construction, and currently we have almost 350,000 square meters of housing, which allowed us to resolve the issues, not just to incoming specialists for the construction of the NPP, but also allowed us to significantly improve the conditions of all spheres, including the social sphere, because we have significantly expanded the number of teachers, instructors, and so on. And what's appealing is salary and housing, so that they could efficiently work. And now we have a very good hospital, the only hospital in the Republic of Belarus that has a clinical status. It is equipped based on the very modern requirements, and in 2020 the main part of this hospital was commissioned, and I emphasize that on purpose. A special headquarters of the infectional or disease was commissioned, and the capabilities have been expanded of also of other quarters. So we tackled the COVID problem successfully. This problem was quite topical because our main task was not to stop the construction at the NPP site. And I believe that our medics jointly with the administration of the city and of our facilities, taking into account some administrative measures, I believe that we have tackled this problem quite successfully. Here I would like to express gratitude to Rosatom Corporation, engineers of Atomstroy Export, for the fact that back in August 2020 they have made a very good present to us, special devices, and we could identify without sending the analysis to Grodno, like regional centers or administrative centers, to identify the analysis whether a person has COVID or not. Currently, in addition to the hospital for 380 persons in the center of our town, also an interesting multifunctional cultural center was commissioned. And on the top of this slide, we see a new station and also ice skating rink with a roof. And when I'm talking about the benefits of Ostrovets, especially for young people who are coming over here, I'm saying that we just don't have metro and cosmodrome. And if someone would claim that there is no airport, now it's not topical because we are even building airport. It's like in a small administrative center that had small aviation. And the old part of the town has been also improved. There were works relating to renovation of our main streets, and repair and construction of the sports facility was done. And we also have a stadium for roughly 1,000 seats that can host competitions of various level. And currently, the first system of our clinic, the construction was completed, and works are underway for the second quarters. And I believe that next year we will also have this facility for our city. And here we have sports system and impulse, and we have also 2 swimming pools in the town. And because of NPP construction over this period, 11.3 billion rubles of investment were mobilized. And clearly this is primarily for the nuclear power plant, but also municipal facilities. Those are the highest level of salary in the oblast, in the region. Of course, it's average, that's clear, but those are also salaries of people who are on the NPP side. But I would like to mention that this high level of salaries, these are also taxes to the Republican budget that subsequently help us to resolve many social issues, like including compensations, and there is certain support to poor strata of population. And I would also like to say a few words about regional budget. Previously, we received subsidies, and you see different levels on this graph. However, for more than 5 years, this region doesn't use any subsidies. Of course, when the construction site will be completed, the situation will change, but not drastically. And using this budget, we can resolve many social issues and so on. Now, I would like to say a few words about state corporation Rosatom and the role of the engineering division of Atomstroy-Export, which is a general contractor in the construction of our NPP. Why? Because in addition to their main activity in the form of construction, they also have design activity, like charitable projects aimed at support to various organizations resolving various social and cultural problems. And I would like to express gratitude for that. Yes, in our region, and I'm not claiming that we are very poor and have no money. However, the budget code does not give us a chance to promptly solve some issues relating to social facilities the way we would like to do that. What are our wishes? I will say that briefly, we have a tender or competition, not just with involvement of Ostrovetsky region, but since we are located there, we get the main benefits. And this also applies to other regions that are adjacent to our Ostrovetsky region. And I would like to say that in the course of implementation of those projects, we have, roughly speaking, over 500,000 US dollars. Maybe it's not very patriotic, but however, we have this tradition to make comparisons in dollars. Over the last 3 years, I can show you, for instance, in the education system, the two last years in 2020, 209,000 Belarusian rubles, then 56,000 2021, and 2022 over 100,000 Belarusian rubles have been attracted for the projects. And the money is not given just like that. Even in the education system, every year the biggest amount was 59 projects, and in terms of evaluation of those projects, the Commission is quite strict, and it cannot give this money easily. And over the year, we implement roughly 10 to 15 different projects in different areas, like kindergartens, educational development, projects relating to safety and security, learning traffic rules. Also, serious work is done in our gymnasium in terms of safety and security. All aspects of human being are taken into account, like forests, fire safety, or road, and so on. And for us, we're like district or rayon centers where our kids will be toward safety aspects. And the environment is quite aggressive, so we see that, for instance, a tolerant attitude towards invalids. And unfortunately, I have to say that the number of children that are physically handicapped goes up. And those are projects in the sphere of culture or social sphere. I would like to cite some examples. For instance, the life and activity of Mr. Gashkevich. He was born in our region. He spent his 15 years of life in Ostrovetsky region, and he is the first diplomatic representative of the Russian Empire in Japan long time ago, and he is a significant person, and it also had an impact on the destiny of this project. And an interesting also project was the assistance of Rosatom atom class. We have a good tradition in one of the facilities where Rosatom carries out construction of NPPs. In one of the schools, atom class is established in the implementation of Rosatom project, and kids have received very good equipment, which is good for their development. And there is a special program where children are involved in the activity of all atom classes of all regions of Russia, of the Russian Federation, where construction of NPPs takes place. This allows to communicate to our children with practically the entire Russian territory. Additionally, it's very good that we have very good friendly relations with Hungarian City Union, which is also constructing PAKSH 2 NPP, and we maintain good relations with this region, also at the level of educational facilities. Our projects are implemented not just by educational facilities, but also in the medical sphere. And in addition to the device to determine COVID availability, there was a special cabinet organized where our medics are trained on mannequins to resolve different aspects in human activity. And those projects are in the framework of maintaining historical memory, which is done by our organization and with the involvement of the engineering company, like maintaining monuments in the cemetery and graveyards and improvement of those monuments, and a good project Belarus remembers, like about the heroes of the great victory in our Ostrovets region, which is very important for our generation to remember the lessons of history. And our sportsmen also actively take part in the project activities, and under the project this rope town for grown-ups was built, and there's also a rope and rock drome for our children, and sports facilities are modernized, and lots of boats were purchased for us to develop the tourist potential of our region, and so on and so forth. I can talk endlessly about that. Yes, we noticed that you're very inspired telling us about the development of the region. Please wrap it all up and we will carry on. You wouldn't believe it. At this aspect, I would like to say many, many thanks to Rosatom Corporation in the construction day that was held and the day of the city, and Stanislav also attended the day holiday, and if I'm wrong you can correct me, but I can proudly say that due to those holidays, even popular Russian artists learn Belarusian geography. And to switch over gradually, I'm a former teacher. Okay, thank you very much. Don't lose pace, and the development and increase in the population is very, very important. As you have said, not just because of the military, but also at the expense of the children.
May I comment? This year, we actually came quite close to zero demographic seizures, which means that there will be the balance, which is for the regions of Belarus is quite untypical. Okay, thank you. Thank you once again. But now we are moving to Kazakhstan, and I'd like to remind all our speakers to follow the time, because we may not talk continuously as we are all busy and there are some tasks in the authorities. So our guest is the General Director of the Union of Engineers in Energy of the Republic of Kazakhstan, and this is a well-known leader in the development in the extraction of uranium, and he will talk about the current events, the current context, and the plans of Kazakhstan. Marat, can you hear us? Yes, I can, and I believe you can hear me as well. Firstly, hello to all the attendees and those present here, and I'd like to congratulate my Belarusian colleagues on this important date that you are commissioning the second nuclear unit and you are close to completing this long-awaited project. And we are still wishing to construct the same. But unlike my friends in Uzbekistan, so they have decided already, but we are still coming to this decision. And over the last 2 years, there are public discussions, workshops on this topic. But you know, our society split into halves. And therefore, we still cannot come to the same idea, to unity. And therefore, the president made up a decision over the next few months to hold a referendum. I don't know whether this is a right decision or not, but no one should dispute the decisions of the president, and we are still at this stage of coming to a decision about this long-awaited project. Why am I saying this? Because I am an energy practitioner by my background and my work. And what do I want to say? Nuclear power plant is not simply demanded in my country. Kazakhstan is divided into 3 parts, and there are 5 regions. All those lower Balkhashan, we have a severe shortage, almost 50% shortage of electric power. And this pressure is covered by the transfer through 3 lines, 500 million kilowatt. But we are very hopeful about the construction of this project, and over the last 3 years, the 3 lines, the 3 grids, and their capacity is only 2,100 megawatts, and it is restricted by their sustainability. They cannot transport more, and therefore our 2,100 megawatts are consumed, and this way, with some challenges, but still we manage to satisfy the needs of all the regions of Kazakhstan. But since we are in the south of Kazakhstan, but I believe this is nationwide, and our generation capacities are very deteriorated, the equipment continuously is under maintenance and repairs, and there are cut downs in the water supply, and there are these anti-emergency equipment operational, but through this emergency mode we managed to survive. Nonetheless, the environmentalists and ecologists and bloggers as well. There is one lady present here, so I will not swear them, and my apologies to the representatives of environment protection agencies, but you know, this army of the green prevents us from coming to one single decision. And we would like at present, in the south of Kazakhstan, by the way, to construct the nuclear power plant. And it would be very great, 2 units of 1,200, 2,400 in total, and then we will cover our shortage, these pressures we have. And why am I referring to the south unit? Because this site is lower to Balkhash, and these power networks come to this substation of 500 megawatt. These grids are quite long. 2 of them are over 1,000 kilometers each, and one grid is about 1,400 kilometers. 3 grids, as I said, and I believe you energy experts will understand me. And the selection of the site, why we selected this one, and this site is located at the end of these 3 grids. And power generation is highly demanded in the country to ensure our security. The site has been selected. It was selected in the Soviet Union time. Actually, we wanted to construct plant there of 2,400 megawatts. But after the collapse of the Soviet Union, there are still plans, but the site nonetheless has been already prepared, surveying, and even the settlement has been constructed. The substation, large substation, was constructed, and it is attached to the grids of 500 volt, and therefore the selection of the site, and by the way, the International Atomic Agency was involved in this process. We also had another site to consider in the western part of our country, Kurchatov, but like I said, regarding the energy context, this site in the south, which was finally selected, has a lot of benefits, and here we plan in future, if we win, and I'm hopeful that we will win, to construct there our first nuclear power plant. Why the first one? Because it would be the first one, it would be the start, and then in the future we would like, you know that Kazakhstan stretches from west to east, and it is over 3,000 kilometers, and from north to south it stretches for about 2,000 kilometers, and therefore there is no need to construct large power grids, as this is quite costly, and therefore we consider the possibility of the distributed power generation, the construction of the units where there is consumption. And we have a lot of our heat power plants which almost need to be... Marat, thank you very much for your speech, but the connection has been terminated. This clap of applause goes to you. I'm sure that you can do it, but when you cooperate with Rosatom, surely. But now I'd like to tell you that as part of the introduction of international Rosatom experience, the general contractor of Paksh-2 and Rosatom started the construction of the main energy units, and I'd like to give the floor to our Hungarian colleague Attila Hugic. He is the advisor of the CEO of Paksh-2, who will tell you about the development of this sector in the country. Once again, please follow the time provided. 10 minutes only.
My presentation also,
Вы меня
I hope so.
видите, и надеюсь, что также можете видеть мою презентацию.
Соединение неустойчивое.
Презентация будет на английском, поэтому кто не понимает,
Presentation
может
will be
взять
in English.
наушник
Therefore, please
и услышать
pick up the
сурдоперевод.
headphones.
Okay, I will give you some seconds for picking up the headphones.
Мне надо
So,
тоже...
ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Budapest. As I have only 10 minutes,
Доброе
let me
утро
start
из
it.
Будапешта.
My name is Attila Hugic, and I have worked for this project for the last 10 years, basically. And what I was asked to
Attila,
speak about
could you please wait a
how
bit?
the nuclear energy contributed to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. This is what I'm going to summarize you within the next 8-10 minutes. So just a first picture of where we are.
Это первая
Budapest is a small
фотография.
country in the heart of Europe. We have a nuclear power
Ребята, я не
plant
могу
with
так
4
переводить. Я слышу
Russian
себя, меня это
design
сбивает.
440 units. These are in Paksh. I have collected the some pictures from the past and from the recent years. If you have a look at the picture on the left, at the pictures on the left, you can see how poor this village was 50 years ago.
Здесь говорится...
That was a very, very small
Это была
village
очень-очень
of
маленькая
5,000
деревушка,
inhabitants.
в
That was a
которой проживало
small
около
fishing village.
5000 жителей.
Basically,
И
not too much was there. Only
не
a
слишком
small
много
village.
там всего
On
было
the
на самом
right-hand side, you
деле.
can see the
То есть
pictures,
вы
how
справа
the city
можете
looks
видеть,
like.
как этот город выглядел
This is
раньше,
a
и
beautiful
это
small city in
то,
the heart of,
как выглядел
Hungary.
город
And I have collected
в
for
те
you
времена.
the
И
goals
сейчас я с вами
that are
выхожу на
related to this
связь.
development. I
И вы
mean
знаете, то есть, ну, как бы могу наслаждаться всеми
sustainable
теми
development goals.
развитиями, наработками,
Which
которые
goals we have
произошли.
contributed? So
И
there
вы
are
знаете,
17
это,
of such
конечно же,
sustainable development
поражает.
goals of the
То есть,
United
ну, как
Nations.
бы, и есть, как вам
And
известно,
nuclear,
17 целей в области
has
устойчивого развития,
contributed
и
to many
ядерная
of the goals.
энергетика,
For
она
example, the low
отчасти
poverty
связана
goal,
с каждой
as you can
из
see,
них, но
this is a
есть
rich
конкретные
country. I
цели,
will show
которые
you
заявлены на этом слайде,
that
которые
later.
связаны с
You will see
теми
that Hungary,
изменениями,
is
которые
among
стали
the
возможны
richest
благодаря
cities in the country.
строительству и
It has,
развитию
the
ядерной
nuclear
энергетики в
power plant has
этом
contributed
городе.
to the zero hunger
И
goal, to the good
есть
health and
разные
well-being
цели,
goals of the United Nations,
цели
the quality education.
Организации
In the
Объединенных
recent
Наций.
years, we had to create a nuclear, like in the recent years, in the last 4-5 decades,
За
we had to
последние
create a
4-5
nuclear
десятилетий мы
education
создали
system. Of
новую
course, nuclear
систему
is a highly
образования,
skilled workforce.
подготовили хороший персонал, и нужно было создать научно-исследовательские организации, которые связаны с ядерным образованием и программами безопасности, которые связаны с атомной промышленностью. И они помогли нам улучшить нашу ситуацию в стране и добиться экономического роста, промышленности, как я уже говорил, реновации, институты НИОКР, создать атомную историю для бывших и будущих и настоящих АЭС. И сейчас среди этих организаций у нас есть исследовательский реактор в Будапеште, есть хранилище радиоактивных отходов Пупек-Шилаги. Кроме того, у нас есть институт ядерных исследований на востоке страны. У нас есть исследовательский центр, который связан с транспортом. И также у нас есть пункт временного хранения отработавшего топлива и так далее. Все это необходимо было создать и иметь очень хороший защищенный персонал, который нужно было, обучение которого проводить. И мы создали за последние 4-5 десятилетий, фонит сильно. И также у вас наверняка тоже есть аналогичные организации. У нас есть хранилище радиоактивных отходов также в Батапати и так далее. Это очевидный вклад АЭС. Как вы видите, 3/4 производства электричества — это атомная энергия, и от одной АЭС 25% от возобновляемых источников энергии с нулевым выбросом. И также от АЭС имеется большой рост низкоуглеродной генерации электроэнергии в Венгрии. Посмотрите на этот слайд. Здесь вы видите карту Венгрии.
The region of Paksh is basically among the richest ones. The salaries are the highest in the region. It's comparable to the salaries in Budapest and the richest regions in the country. People around Paksh speak about dream salaries in the NPPs, dream salaries in the Paksh 2 NPP. So many people would like to work in this sector due to the good salaries. Of course, there are requirements to the future employees. They have to be skilled or highly skilled. But this is basically the result of having nuclear in the country. And of course, these salaries have contributed to the well-being of the people there and to many of the sustainable development goals of the United Nations. And based on all this development, as I said before, we have had 4 nuclear units with 440 VVER 440 units that have been operated now to 500. And based on all these developments we have experienced in the last decades, we decided to construct 2 more units, 2 VVER 1200 units, the ones you have built in Ostrovets. And this is basically where we are. So we are happy. We are very happy with having nuclear in the country. We have made good experience with it. There's a widespread and an extensive nuclear industry and innovation research related to nuclear. This is what we would like to continue with the 2 new units that we are just about to start constructing. We have just moved to phase 2, and physical works on the site are already going on. Earth excavation has been finished to -5 meters under Unit 5, and the Unit 6, it's just about to be finished. I mean, pit excavation to -5 meters. And later on, we will continue with soil improvement, and also the slurry wall construction, the so-called cut-off wall construction is also going on. So given the 8-10 minutes, this is what I intended to give you as a short introduction of how nuclear in Hungary could contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Attila, thank you very much indeed.
Спасибо огромное за участие. Хотелось бы
Thank you
тоже
very
задать тот
much
же
for
вопрос, что
participation. I would also like to
задавал нашему заместителю министра энергетики Михаилу Ивановичу.
why namely Rosatom Corporation.
There are several reasons for them.
Вот здесь несколько причин. Во-первых, у нас была АЭС на основе российской технологии. Мы знаем технологию российскую, в том числе ВЭР, водоводяного энергетического реактора. Во-вторых, мы проводили атомные исследовательские работы и систему образования на основе этой технологии. То есть система образования, исследователи, наши различные объекты и наш опыт эксплуатации, все это основано на российской технологии. Это была следующая причина. Третье – это то, что Россия также предложила нам финансирование, финансовый аспект этого проекта. И последнее, не по значимости, а по перечню, российская технология достаточно безопасная, одна из лучших в мире. И все эти причины легли в основу выбора российской технологии. Это основные причины, по которым мы выбрали российскую технологию в Венгрии.
Attila, спасибо еще раз огромное.
Attila,
Самая главная причина, я уверен, что Росатом — это надежность, в первую очередь,
Rosatom is reliability. First of all, the reliability of partnership relations. Thank you very much. Thank you for your involvement. And now we have to give the floor to Tatiana first. Okay. Thank you very much. Now the floor is given to the representative of the State Committee, who is responsible in the country for the implementation of state policy of Belarus in the area of innovation activity. Tatiana Stolerova, Deputy Chairman of the State Committee for Science and Technology of the Republic of Belarus, will make a presentation on the prospective future of synergy of Belarus and Rosatom State Cooperation in the area of non-energy, non-atom projects. Dear participants of the conference, first of all, I would like to congratulate you on the part of the State Committee for Science and Technology with the opening of such a large-scale forum, and to which productive work and exchange of experience in such a significant event. Sustainable growth of economies of the developed countries provides the development of innovation, and some countries switch toward to new programs with the development of such technologies as nano-energy, molecular cell and artificial intelligence and so on. In the framework of such global processes, the joint development of scientific activity and consolidation of potentials of Belarus and Russia, and development and the implementation in the area of innovation becomes one of the primary tasks. And in the framework of the Union State, the main programs in the innovation sphere are programs of the Union State, and time has confirmed the effectiveness of this legal mechanism. Interaction of a lot of production teams of our countries. Over 60 programs have been implemented in such areas as space technologies, electronics, machine building, informational technologies, and so on and so forth. Only in the area of space, 7 scientific and technological programs have been implicated, and due to this type of cooperation, space group of satellites has been established, and 4 more programs are implemented in the framework of the Union State. You can see the information on the slide. 2 more space-related programs and development of new types of laser equipment, component F, and also in the area of electronics and artificial intelligence. Today, science has become a productive force, the impact of which has has been significant, and development creates new challenges, and to create one of the stable positions in the world market, a level of competences should be developed, and cooperation with our counterparts. In this area, we pay significant attention to cooperation with Rosatom Corporation in terms of atom energy and non-atom projects. We have a great many common interests, and we can provide the implementation in cooperation with the use of the bases that we have and competences. Because of agreement with Prime Minister Mr. Golovchenko and head of Rosatom Alexei Likhachev in March 2023, visit to Rosatom Corporation took place, and based on the results of this visit, prospective future of this cooperation has been identified, and some agreements have been made. As Mikhail Ivanovich has already mentioned today, yesterday there was a working meeting of the Prime Minister of Belarus with the head of Rosatom Corporation, and among other things, the implementation of the achieved agreements has been discussed. Noteworthy, as of today, the State Science and Technology Committee of Belarus, in conjunction with the Rosatom country office, we have developed a roadmap for cooperation, which envisages specific areas, different stages and timeline, and also sources of funding. The roadmap has been adopted by the Prime Minister of Belarus. The emphasis in this roadmap has been made on the prospective future of cooperation, including additive technologies, nuclear medicine, disposal of waste, digitalization of development, and implementation of software, and so on. For all the above areas, the Republic of Belarus has some plans in the state register of scientific and technological works that are underway in the State Committee for Technologies. Various works have been registered, 16, and nuclear medicine, 7, and so on. Also, waste disposal, 21 works, and so on. It is planned that our cooperation will be carried out in the format of Union State programs implementation. Jointly with Rosatom, we carry out development of the Union State programs in nuclear medicine for targeted preparators, and new devices would be created for diagnostics of oncological diseases. And jointly with Rosatom, proposals are developed for regional and digital development, and as a consequence of its implementation, a software product will be developed for all areas of cooperation, digitalization in various spheres like property and territorial planning. And a significant component of the Union State work will be for the project Smart Cities of Belarus. Noteworthy in the cooperation of Rosatom and other stakeholders, work is underway to create the Center of Additive Technologies. Additionally, lots of other future areas of cooperation are developed to form digital chains, like in medicine, possibilities to equip Belarusian centers with equipment of the so-called heavy class, and also development of construction, the Center for Tomography of Belarus, and in turn Belarusian experts can propose development of methodologies of treatment in the nuclear medicine with Rosatom, and also production of medical equipment can be done in the future. Belarusian components can be used in human therapeutical systems for therapy for oncological diseases and so on, jointly with Rosatom, and technical re-equipment of facilities is also important, like robotization and implementation of additive technologies. In the area of atom and non-atom decisions or solutions, energy accumulation systems are developed, and batteries for transport and so on. Vast experience has been accumulated by Rosatom and by Belarus. Currently in Belarus there is a project of national transport which envisages creation of a new sector of electric cars, a new area for Belarus. And to sum up, I would like to say that in the conditions of sanctions, science and innovation should become a basis for creation of highly technological productions, and the use of scientific and technical potential of Belarus and Russia should become a decisive factor for provision of competitiveness of national economies. And once again, to sum up my report, I would like to wish the organizers and attendees of this forum for it to become as effective as possible, and exchange of experience to bring fruit for your subsequent work, and have a great time in such a significant activity. Thank you very much, Tatiana. It's concise but very clear, and now we have to say goodbye to Mikhail Ivanovich, but he's still staying behind. So if we can, let us sum up the results of the so-called synergy of the so-called Russian-Belarusian cooperation. Stanislav Levitsky, the floor is yours. Maybe we can see the presentation. I will be extremely grateful. Wonderful. After Tatiana, there's not much left for me to say, and also I see people are tired, so I'll try to be brief, not just because of my presentation. I would like to say briefly, summing up the main subject of our conference. What are the UN Sustainable Development Goals? There are different programs importance for the state, but these are goals for the entire humanity and each individual of our sector. And I'm not talking just about the state corporation. Now we see young people from universities that will fill up the nuclear sector of our country in the future. And I would like to say the atom or nuclear sector of our union state that we develop jointly, and we are tackling global scientific tasks. Even if your lecturer, your teacher would tell you draw a scheme, nonetheless you're implementing the SDGs. That's funny, but nonetheless you see that the nuclear energy and the NPP project has proved wonderfully not just the consequences of the generation facilities, but the implementation of the project itself brings added value, not just financial, but also from the human capital perspective. And the main value of Rosatom and our sector are people. So I would like to call you upon to understanding that people are the main thing that makes us to move forward successfully. I will probably speak very briefly. Andrei has already mentioned what areas are developed by state corporation Rosatom. I would not like to say it again, but let's say in Belarus, decommissioning, who we have integrators and heads here present today, and we actively implement jointly with Belarusian NPP and with Ministry of Energy any types of works that are aimed at provision of safe and effective decommissioning of the Belarusian NPP with a subsequent prospective future. This work is extremely important, and it will allow to develop the strategy of this facility operation. And at the Belarusian NPP, we are currently developing that, and here it is shown what needs to be done in the future. Next step, ecological integrators. Andrei has already mentioned that traditionally working with radiotoxic substances and waste, we earn unique experience of treatment, this type of industrial waste and so on, and using our experience to develop our new project that has been mentioned, we have proved to be very effective actors, and pretty soon the agreement will be signed with our counterparts from the Ministry of Environmental Protection, and we can implement the capabilities of Belarus in the territory of Belarus and in the third countries, as Tatiana also mentioned. And also we are developing the accumulation of energy. I would like to reiterate a small thing. We are building in Kaliningrad fabric, a plant, and in Kaliningrad roughly 400 highly qualified construction engineers are involved, and we have prospective future, and with Republican state public bodies, if we can make calculations and justification, then state corporation will be interested in construction in Belarus, the entire cycle of energy accumulation. And by the way, this is capital investment up to $500 million and lots of jobs and so on. This is very topical and relevant. And proposed solutions, prospective materials and technologies. I will tell you briefly that the state corporation, or probably the Russian Federation, is one of the biggest producers in the Eurasian region, producer of composite materials, and we are supplying ready-made products like Minsk automobile plant that has been cooperating with us, and everything that flies. And as regards additive technologies, Tatiana has already briefed us on that, and we have already developed the roadmap. It is ready for signing, and I hope that by the end of the next year it will be built physically especially the Republican Center of Additive Technologies. Why it is important, especially for energy personnel? It's for input substitution. For instance, one component or spare part becomes inoperable, and instead of waiting, because logistical chains have become very complex, while this part is supplied or imported, you can make your own part quite quickly. That will enable you to develop production. And for those of you who are interested in research and development, the quicker method after you have made a model or prototype, made its digital copy, probably it's the easiest way currently, and one of the many areas. There are also areas to manufacture multi-layered parts. We have them at our exhibit. They are not big ones because it's difficult to bring the big ones here. However, the Additive Technologies Center, I think we will be able to make its commissioning also with your involvement. And as regards simulators, it's a very good, promising project, and we are completing this work. It's an example of production cooperation. It's no secret that Rosatom Corporation, in the incumbent upon its company TCJ, is doing this work for digital or copies and training of personnel. They are part of the each NPP, and you have all heard the requirements for the safety. And with Belarusian company Belabatka, we can implement projects both in the territory of Belarus and the Russian Federation and third countries. This cooperation implies increase in personnel, potential burn, and we have strict agreement in the framework of the agreement signed at last TIBU that we will have 50-50 distribution of financial resources. We do count on that, and thank you very much personally to Mikhail Ivanovich and Dmitry Mikhailovich and to other counterparts.
And you know, I'd like to wrap it up. Digital solutions, I will save your time and my time, but in digital solutions, we are one of the leaders of the Russian Federation, and now we are ready to provide free licenses to the Belarusian universities, including the developments of Belarusian developers for our software, and we plan to establish in Belarus a center for the development of solutions for Rosatom. But there should be some work to harmonize the legal frameworks of the nuclear sector of Belarus and Russia, so it requires some investments, but it will be done quite soon, and we will become one of the key employers. Nuclear medicine. Look, they are the traditional isotopic technologies and the different radiation-based pharmaceuticals, and that is the production of medical devices, of hard compact. And at present we are developing, and we will enter the market with different devices of scanning, and we already started the development of a product range to treat patients with the NOx that is being tested in the Republic of Belarus. Last week, the scientific community has started to explore it. Doctors from Russia came, and we have about 30 medical devices which are already available to be provided and marketed in the Russian market and Belarusian one. So there are a lot of directions, a lot of areas, and I'm calling upon the students of universities, please assess it. Assess this sector from the point of view of the forecasts for their development. And we will find the people, we will find the place for the people in our joint projects. So all is fine with the medicine, and you can participate in the construction of large-scale projects and sites demanded in Belarus. But I believe that medicine and healthcare in Belarus is one of the most advanced sector in the former Soviet Union area. And in brief, Belarusian nuclear power plant provided us with a synergy. We are on the same page. We speak the same language, but we speak the same technical language. We have the same goals and objectives. We have the same vision of our future. And let's work together, because the strategic documents are our foundation, basis. But the future is behind these guys I see in this room. I like your burning eyes, sparkling eyes, and therefore, when you leave this conference, don't forget that we need you, and you need to participate in our projects, joint projects, both in Belarus and Russia, our joint initiatives, and generate initiatives on your own, because only when we develop, we can develop bright future for everyone. This is one of the goals of the UN and of our goal as well. Thank you. Thanks a lot. It is well understandable for me that we can achieve SDGs not through these conventional methods, but through these ambitious ways. Well, dear friends, time flies, and it is the end of our conference, but I believe if there are still students in our room, there are questions to our speakers. Do you have any questions? Yes, there are? Okay, I see that we have no time because there will be another conference launched. So therefore, thanks a lot to all our speakers for your participation, for your speeches. So, dear colleagues, if you have any questions, you can approach us directly and ask your questions directly. Today and tomorrow I will be here, and quite possibly even on Thursday, but I'm available online. Yes, that's right. Thanks a lot to all of you for your time. Thanks a lot to our speakers and for your participation in our conference. У нас, короче, произошла проблема с наушником.